mentioned she's an MSU alum, and I am as well. Are coming from the same stomping grounds. Hey.
And
Welcome to Just a Minute with Jayla. I'm your host, Dr. J, and I'm so excited for you all to be here today. We have a phenomenal woman that I will be speaking with. Her name is Miss Talaya Bates. Hello, Talaya. Um, and before we get started, I'm just going to read a little bio about Talaya and tell you guys who she is and what we'll be talking about today. So, Talaya was born and raised on the west side of Detroit, Michigan, where she will forever call home. Okay, 313, shout out to Detroit. um, while growing up in Detroit, she attended Burton International School, then Henry Ford Academy School for Creative Studies. After high school, she went on to attend Michigan State University, go Green,
oh, I.
where she earned a Bachelor of Arts degree from the Eli Broad College of Business and Supply Chain Management. Thank you
Yes.
so much for joining us today, Talaya. So, before we get into the nitty gritty of our conversation, I do have some icebreaker questions.
Okay.
I just sprung that on you. I didn't tell you that's what I do.
Of course.
All right. So, my first question for you is what is currently on your playlist? What are you listening to these days?
What am I listening to these days? It's a mix of everything. So lately I've been listening to Glorilla. I've also been put Beyonce in there here and there. The Renaissance album, of course.
Right.
And gotta have my gospel in there. We start off our mornings, we have our gospel. So yeah, that's currently what I'm listening to on my playlist.
Here on Just a Minute with Jayla, we love to highlight the journey of success and just overcoming obstacles and navigating life of young professionals, entrepreneurs, and young adults who are just trying to find their way in their journey of life. So, Talaya, before we begin into how you got involved in supply chain management, can you just tell us a little bit about, growing up in Detroit and what was that like for you?
So growing up, like my aunt, she went to Michigan State, and like they always, like she and my cousin, they would bring me and my sisters and my other aunties to Little Sibs Week. Little Sibs Weekend is what they would call it. So I was exposed to Michigan State at a really, young age. So, seeing that, like seeing like, role models in my life that went to Michigan State, I'm like, okay, I want to be a Spartan. Like I didn't think about, I mean, HBCUs crossed my mind for a minute, but I'm like, I don't know. It's just something in me that was just like, Michigan State is where it's at.
Mhm.
So I didn't want to go into supply chain until I got into school. I really wanted to be a teacher. That's like one of my biggest things as far as like my purpose. Like I love teaching people and I love like speaking. So I'm like, maybe I want to be a teacher. And then I always knew that I had like a something in me that wanted to do business as well. I don't know what it is, but it was always something in me that I'm like, I have to, pursue business. So going to Michigan State, I did this summer bridge program called SBI, so Summer Business Institute. And so I was exposed to a lot of like business leaders and a lot of students, from Detroit and from other walks of life that, was just trying to figure out like and navigating what they wanted to do. So from there, I was like, maybe I don't want to be a teacher anymore because I really wasn't passionate about it anymore. I'm like, maybe hospitality business. And so I was talking to like some advisors and, I had a few like hospitality business courses. And I was like, this isn't for me. Like I figured it out like my freshman year. I'm like, hospitality business is not for me. So during that time, they had a list of different majors that was listed out. So I was like, oh, supply chain management. I've never heard of it. So just seeing it on the list, I'm like, let me see what that's about. So I talked to some advisors. I did my own research, and supply chain is really a broad field. Like you can go into anything within supply chain. So in a nutshell, supply chain is making sure like a product gets from point A to point B, but in between you have you have the planning. There's different sides like demand and supply. I guess like different aspects for that product to get from A to B. to see and so forth.
So
So
that's really interesting because I do remember with at the height of COVID and even a year in, that was one of the things I kept hearing, like man, cars and just different businesses, the supply chain is like not flowing the way it needs to because of all the businesses closing. So it is like a really important field. But that was the first time I really like understood why it was so important.
so yeah, COVID hit some businesses and the supply chain was really that time was really tough. It was really tough for a lot of businesses.
So for those who don't know, Talea mentioned she's an MSU alum, and I am as well. So I
yeah.
graduated in 2021, actually, so not too long ago with my doctorate. Both are coming from the same stumping grounds. Hey.
And
How was it going from graduation to actually landing your first job? Like, tell me about what was that like?
So from graduation to landing my first job. So I had already been preparing for, like, once I figured out supply chain is what I wanted to go into, I had like very good advisors and I was in a network full of like business minded individuals. I was a part of a group called Multicultural Business Programs. And and I got connected through like that summer bridge program that I did before my freshman year. So they made sure like they had like companies come in. There's like every year we have this big thing called like the career gallery, the career fair. So I was out networking as a freshman. Like, do you have internships for freshmen? Like, and some companies were just like, no, we don't, but keep coming back. And so like it gave me that opportunity to at least like see what companies were out there, what they were offering, and how could I, keep coming back so that I can, land an internship. So by my sophomore year, it was that 2018, I think junior. No, by my junior year, we do it when I was at state. They normally say like, they don't really take like freshmen and sophomores. They, start junior level, and above because they want to make sure like, okay, if we're investing in you as far as you being our intern, we want to make sure we get it. So by my junior year, I landed my first internship with this company called Cargill. So that's when I moved to Minnesota for the first time for like 3 months that summer. So yeah, like it was like it was up from there. Like, so I did that internship and then I returned back to the company the next year as another intern. Moving forward, I was back at the career fair. And so I ended up in the line for Ecolab. And it was really funny because I didn't know that they were located, like headquartered in Minnesota until I started talking to the recruiter and she's like, yeah, we're in Minnesota. And I'm like, you know what? Minnesota just don't want to let me go. Like, yeah. Because I wanted to move down south. I wanted to get out the Midwest, and Minnesota was just too cold. And I'm like, I don't want to go. So
warm weather.
yeah. So anyway, I ended up, landing, went through the whole interview process. They actually flew me to the headquarters in Minnesota to go through the whole interview process. And it was myself amongst like 20 or 30 other candidates. And I'm not gonna lie, I was a bit nervous. I don't know why. Like I always get nervous. And before I was even out there, like my bags ended up not being on my flight. It was delayed. It was all type of stuff. And it was just very crazy. I'm like, Lord, is this where you want me to be? Because if it is, like, why is all this stuff happening? So it was just a lot going on. But I ended up getting my bags. I ended up going to the interview and it was I think I did really good in the interview because I landed a position.
Really? So you were hustling throughout undergrad, you had internships, you landed your first job straight out of college, and was life great right after, or was there some adjustments? Was this your first time moving out of state? Like, what was that transition going from I'm a college student to now I'm a professional? Tell us a little bit about what some things you encountered.
So I graduated during the pandemic. So I graduated May of 2020. And so when all that was happening, they were canceling, they were like, taking back people's offers. They were like some people that, seniors that had like full-time offers secure, like they were like, due to COVID and due to other circumstances, we regret to inform you that your offer had been, taken back. And so that was something that I was really anxious and nervous about too, because I'm like, I didn't went through the interview process and, I didn't, came this far. And I'm like, and I don't want to, I just had everything set up to where like I was ready to, make that leap and make that transition. So I was just like praying, like, I just don't want because it was a lot of students around that was just like their offers were getting, pulled back or, postponed or, taken 100%. So my like recruiter, she called me and she was like, yeah, you don't have anything to worry about. Like you're still, you still have a place with us. We are still, relocating you to Minnesota. And they was like, we're still relocating you to Minnesota. Like you have nothing to worry about. Just worry about your move. Just worry about your transition and like we'll take care of the rest. Okay. So going from Michigan to Minnesota, I want to remind you all that was around the time of George Floyd's murder. Wow. So I live downtown Minneapolis, and it was 10 minutes away from where George Floyd was murdered. It's now the George Floyd Memorial. And so when I got there, before I was just all like, I was excited. I just got a new car. Me and my sister was just driving. We was all excited.
Ready to like celebrate and enjoy.
Yes, I was ready. I was pumped. So when we got there, it was me, my sister, my mom, and my stepdad, and my baby sister. We got there, and when I tell you, everything was still boarded up, wow. And I was just like, "Oh, it's real." And it was a feeling in Minnesota. Like it was a feeling that I never felt. When I was there as an intern, like I never felt that feeling before. It was very heavy. And it really like shifted a lot of things for me, especially like, like I'm going to be living here. So, is this what I, have to look, is this what I'm going to be seeing like every day? So everything was still boarded up. My apartment was like brand new, but everything was virtual. So I did a virtual walkthrough, but I didn't see what was going on outside of, the four walls of my apartment. And it was so funny because we pulled up and my mom was like, Talia, check the address. Are you sure this is it? I'm like, Ma, I didn't pay these people a deposit. I'm been paying my rent up. Like, I'm here. This is the place.
I'm to make sure.
You sure? Like, are you sure? I'm like, yeah, this is it. And so that was a transition for me because not only am I starting my career virtually in a world after that like changed history, like George Floyd's murder like changed the dynamic of the entire world.
Oh yeah.
So and it was like, so being there in that, like still in the midst of the city grieving, it was something that I was just like, Lord, it's gonna be me and you, like, help me push through. Like it was a point of time where I, like, my mom and my sister, they ended up leaving, so I had my moment. But they have a Cub grocery store out there. That's kind of like Michigan's Kroger. They have like their Cub is there. So I remember going to the club parking lot and I remember like seeing like big tankers just on every corner. And I remember getting I was done doing my grocery shopping. I got in the car and I remember getting a text message. It was like the little text message blast. They were just like, curfew is effective immediately. And I just remember just dropping my phone and crying in the car. And some guy like was in the car next to me and he was like, are you okay? And I was like, no, but I will be. And that was the moment where I was just like, you know what, like life is about to get real. Not only like, you don't have your parents here to guide you through it, but not only like in this, monumental era in life, but also like with your career. It was a lot of anxiety around like, how am I going to adjust without being in person? Or are we going, am I going to perform well now that I'm at home? Like, it was just a lot of going on. So when I was responding to him, like, no, I will be, I wasn't just responding to what was going on around me, but what was also going on inside of me and inside my head. So yeah, it was a heavy transition. It was tough.
That's a lot. First of all, graduating. I mean, I done graduated too many times. So anytime you have achieved such a huge achievement such as graduating, but especially from undergrad, that is your entryway into, the workforce for many people. So I can't imagine what that was like to do that virtually and then to have to start your job virtually. I know for me, I graduated, defended my dissertation virtually. I did my interview for jobs as a professor virtually. For those who don't know, I'm an assistant professor. So I didn't even get to do my interview on the campus tours for any place, in person. So it was a lot, but I can't imagine being at the site, living there where George Floyd had got killed. So going back to that, how did you take care of yourself while still being able to, I guess, celebrate and, take these leaps of faith and, enjoy being in a job, enjoy having accomplished something so big like graduating? How are you able to like balance all of these different emotions and stuff?
So when I first got out there, like I have family out there. So that was one thing that I did. Like I leaned on my family a lot, not only my family in Minnesota, but my family in Michigan as well. They were like my biggest support, and I don't even think that they know. Did that. I cried a lot, and that helped me too, just to release and just to, it was a lot. It was a lot. And that was the first time that I like allowed myself to feel what was going on. But to also like just let it out. And so like that helped me as well. And then I travel. I travel too as well. Like I'm like, I'm in my big girl career. I have the fun. So I'm outside. Like I'm going to go travel. So I travel. I went to go see friends. I, went to Houston a few times, and I just have friends all over since we graduated. So like
you traveling on the ground.
I was like, all right, I'm out of here. Let me go. And then I was working virtually. So I mean, it was I was able to have the flexibility to do so as well. So that's how I took care of myself. That's what worked then. That's what worked then. Let's just say.
What do you mean that's what worked then?
Because like, through different transitions of me being out there, what worked in one season didn't work in the next. So like, I was traveling when I first moved out there, but in the next season when I was, still in my career, still adulting and like, learning myself, I'm like, okay, I need to find another way to take care of myself. And that's when I really got serious about self-care. I even found a therapist. I started therapy when I was out there. I got reconnected with some of my good girlfriends that stayed out in Minnesota as well. So we would get together and watch Insecure and have like watch parties and just debrief and just talk about things that, goes on in our day-to-day, like work life, dating, like how are we doing, like in here, like and in our heart. Like it was our healing spaces for real. Like that was another form of therapy for me, like just getting together with getting together with a bigger group of Black women, and we're just like, how y'all doing? Like, let's check in. What's going on? And that
for you. I'm so happy you had not only family as support, but you were able to find a circle and you were able to take care of yourself and seek out therapy. Like therapy has been, I feel like, so taboo in Black communities, and I'm so happy to hear us talking more vocally about for men and women going to therapy. It's even something I've considered and I probably will do just to grow and to have someone to talk through things that you might not even know stem from a deeper place that you don't even understand. So I love that for you.
Going back to your point about it being so taboo in the Black community, I was nervous to tell my mom and my dad that I was in therapy, just because of, not saying that they would judge me or anything, but just because of how taboo it is in the Black community. And then also I didn't want them to worry about me. Because I'm their baby, I'm the oldest, and I'm the first one to leave. So I didn't want them to think, what's she
going? Are you okay? What's going on?
Right. Like, do I need to come up there and get you? Like, and I didn't want them to worry about me at all. I'm like, no, I just think for me in my like journey of life, like therapy was pivotal for me. And it has been. And that's what I mean when I say like what worked in one season, because then, through other seasons, like I just couldn't just get up and travel. I'm like, no, I gotta talk to somebody. I gotta take care of me. Like I have to really dig down and get to the root of what's going on, and I still see my therapist to this day. There'll be times where like I will be good, but then like now I'm transitioning through like another role and being in another state. So that comes with even more like responsibility and even more transition. So I'm like, I need to talk to my therapist about how I'm feeling and what's going on. And, how do I navigate this new space in life? First and foremost, everybody can benefit from therapy, but also if you are someone who is like, if you had the thought about going to therapy, but you're just like, no, no, then therapy is for you too, because it crossed your mind for a reason. I was that same person, like, I'm not going to therapy. Like, my journal is enough. My friends are enough. My mama enough. Like, I can lean on my village. But no, like, it takes a strong, it takes, I'm not gonna say a strong person. It takes a lot of bravery to say, like, hey, I can talk to somebody else outside of family who can give me resources that I didn't know that I needed, because I'm like navigating this new era of life, or just navigating life, period. Because being a young adult, it's a lot for us. It's a lot for us in this time and era. So, if seeking therapy just to talk about like what's going on, and how can you stay, how do you set good boundaries, just things like that. I think a lot of people can.
And I feel like from what I've heard from my friends who go to therapy, it's just a really good practice to incorporate into your own self growth, self development. If you're someone who cares about striving to be better, striving to be the best version of yourself, I do believe that therapy could be an option. And I know you're a believer as well, Talaya. So I know sometimes it could be taboo for Christians or for anyone in any kind of religion or, a religious practice. You might think, well, I have that. But I do believe that incorporating your spirituality with a licensed therapist is just giving you double dose of momentum to help you. Now we're going to talk a little bit about how has it been for you just, adulting. On Just a Minute with Jayla, we like to talk about the struggles, the highs, the lows of adulting. And you in North Carolina now, Miss Ma'am. So you have went from one job in Minnesota, and now you are in North Carolina. So you down south. You got your from the Midwest to down south. So first off, tell me, what is it like for you living down south?
What is life for me living in North Carolina? So
Southern girls.
I was like I said, I've always wanted to live down south. And yeah, so I was, super excited when I, got my promotion. And they're yes, promotion. And they were like, yeah, you going to, first they were trying to put me in West Virginia. And I'm like,
I remember that because you were talking.
Yes, I did my
located in Virginia, so you was trying to figure out how close are we to each other.
Yes. But then I did my research and I was like, work life balance is important to me, and I'm looking for a good network. So maybe West Virginia is not the best, route for me. So moving to North Carolina, like I was like so excited. Like I was happy. I'm like, I'm finally in the South. I'm getting closer and closer to where I want to be in Georgia. I'm right next door. Like I'm
okay, ATL.
Okay, A-Town down. I'm making my way. But then getting down here, so I thought the transition was gonna be like seamless for me, because that's how it was when I was in Minnesota. Like I had my network there, I had my family there. I have family here in North Carolina, but they're an hour and 40 minutes away. So it's not like I can just go right up the street and say, like, what's up? Like, I'm here for the weekend. Like, no, I have to drive an hour to get to my family. I didn't have friends here. So I connect with the people at work, but I didn't have. Ooh, we putting this on face. I follow a few of my coworkers, so I'm gonna say this. I didn't have friends here, so that was another thing that I had to get adjusted to.
That's real. I mean, moving and not having no friends, like that's real.
Yeah, no friends. Um, I just moved out here by myself. I was just so excited to just be down south that I didn't even think about,
Right.
okay, what does network look like? Or like what does my social life look like? I'm like, I know I'm gonna get that because I'm in Cat right up the street. So I'm like, I know I'm gonna get that, but what does that look like for me? So moving down here, it was an adjustment. It took me 6 months
Mm.
to feel comfortable here. It took me really comfortable to it took me 6 months to really feel comfortable. Um,
So, as you've been navigating building community and your job, what's it like being like just a single Black woman? Are you dating? Is a relationship something in your peer review?
I like how you phrase that. Um, so just being a single Black woman here, I've really just been I've really just been focusing on myself.
You love
I
it,
I
yes.
and like just truly getting to know myself and know like what I want, what I don't want, what I will allow, what I can't allow. And as that come into play, like, as I'm getting more like firm on like my expectations, it has made dating a lot easier doing that and setting my boundaries up front, just letting the person know like, hey, this is who you see get but I'm not going to just accept anything. So dating has been, it's been really interesting doing that. But like I said, like at the end of the day, I'm still like trying to understand like what Talea want to do or you know, what, what do I like?
Right.
Still, solidifying that for myself. And like, I don't want to, I'm not gonna say that. I was gonna say I don't want to tie nothing down because
You got time?
yeah, I still feel like I'm young. I don't yeah, I still feel like I'm young and I have time to, and I'm not putting myself on nobody's timeline. I had to really get out of like trying to put myself on a timeline, like, oh, I have to have this done by this date, this done by this date. No,
Oh
I'm
my
just like,
gosh.
oh,
When I turned
I'm
30, I feel like that was all I was hearing. But really, I was like, we on Jayla's time. Like, we on God's
yep,
time, Jayla's time.
yep, yes.
Love that what you said about you're just figuring out what you want. I feel like we do not hear that talked about enough. Like, if you go on your social media right now, I feel like all we see is relationships
Hmm.
and getting money.
Yeah, and spending his money.
Getting money and being in a relationship. But let's talk about getting to know me, who I am, what I want, what I desire. And how about we talk about how you, as a woman or as a man, can get to the bag before you worry about how they could give you a bag.
Right. True. True.
Yeah.
Period.
Y'all quote me if you use that.
Give
Dr.
my
Jenna Warren.
give my girl her credit. But no, that is true though. Like there was a point, there was a season in my life where I don't care how cliche this sounds, but I dated myself. Like I took myself out to the movies, and still this day, I don't go to the movies with guys. Like that's the thing that I do with myself. Because that's like how I mean, like I just got to in a season where like, that's how I date myself. Like I take myself to the movies, and then on top of that, I don't like when people ask me questions throughout the movies. I don't want to.
So you would not like to go to the movies with me.
I'll be like, girl,
That I love having your own sacred activity or whatever you do to date yourself. Even if you are seeing someone, I just love that practice of dating yourself. And it reminds me last year because I graduated with my PhD also during the pandemic. And then I started my job as a professor. I mean, 3 months later, relocated from Michigan to Virginia. So I was kind of going through those same types of transitions as you. And for me, it was more about feeling like burnt out because I like celebrated, of course, a little bit over the summer, but I didn't have that break to just enjoy getting through a doctorate degree. So last summer,
Girl, big
I
ups to you.
thank you, boo.
Yes.
So last summer, I actually did a lot of solo traveling.
Mhm.
That was my way of my self care, but also just loving on me. So I think during my solo traveling, I was able to figure out what are the ways I want to date myself and pour into myself as well. So, Talea, what advice would you give new graduates?
Don't let anyone determine your timeline for yourself.
Mm.
If you are at a point to where you need a break because you went like 4 or 5 years or however many years in school, and then also like if you're in a postgraduate program, like you went from graduate yeah, undergrad to like post grad, and like you just keep going. If you feel like you need a break, take that break. Don't burn yourself out, and don't like try to do things because you're trying to meet someone else's timeline. No, do what you feel is most important to you and your journey, but also be thinking about like your next steps and planning everything out. Like, okay, I'm taking this break, but what does it look like after, I sit down for a minute? Always be 3 steps ahead of yourself. And always have a plan, in a plan that's like that you can a plan that's smart for one and attainable. That's like my biggest advice is just making sure that you have a plan, and then also making sure that you networking. A lot of places and spaces that I've been in or where I've gotten is because I've networked and I just have favor. And so just networking is like the key. So yeah, that's my biggest 2 pieces of advice is don't try to move off someone else's timeline. Do what you feel is best for yourself, but also make sure you have a plan, and then to network, to get in those spaces in which you want to be, to set yourself up for success later on down the road.
Yes, come on with the wisdom. And before we wrap up, Miss Talea, for those who do not know, we actually, like I said, we have met at Michigan State, and we actually met because Miss Talea had hosted, I think, the first or one of the first Black women empowerment brunches, and I was
Yeah.
as a vendor, and then from then on, we just continue to collaborate on projects and just women's events and speaking events, and we're gonna have some more in the future. You just know.
Yes. Yes. Stay tuned.
So what is going on outside of the career woman in supply chain?
Mhm.
What is next for you in terms of women empowerment? Because I know that is something that is near and dear to your heart. So what can we expect from you, ma'am?
Ooh, yeah, that's fine. I know before we scheduled our interview, we talked about like what do I want to do down here and how do I want to like continue that legacy. So what has been placed on my heart and I just need to execute is getting into the schools down here in North Carolina and implementing my women's empowerment group, True Self Beauty. And it's pretty much talking to the young, talking to middle schoolers up into high school, just pretty much talking to them about like, confidence and the transitions of life, financial literacy. That's something that I'm really big on. That's one of the things that I had to learn through navigating my career and through just being an adult is, this is the first time this is the first time, having a career and like making the money that I do. So how do I like manage it? Like money management is important. So like going into the schools, teaching the young girls like money management, but then also like, how do you make passive income for yourself? And how do you think about, if you don't want to go to college, okay, what else do you want to do outside of that? Just thinking about like career development if college is not the first thing. So that's what I'm in the works of. I have like my whole vision board behind me to my right. So just thinking through like where I want to go to, what school I want to go to first, and how do I want to like frame frame, my conversations with the girls, the takeaways and things like that. So that's what's next for me.
Well, make
With
sure you
department.
definitely post it when you get that up and running. And we're gonna just have to bring you back on the podcast.
Yeah.
All right, y'all. We are out. See y'all next time.